All right, guys, there is a ridiculous amount of science and engineering that goes into developing tires. I mean, like billions and billions of dollars spent within the tire development and research industry to make tires safer, longer lasting, better on fuel, quieter, and the best optimized traction performance possible. I mean, it is the number one thing on your vehicle that affects the performance more than anything else, since the tires are the only thing connecting your vehicle to the road and trails. So with something that has so much information, science, and engineering put into it, how in the heck are we supposed to decide which tire is going to be best for us? Well, by learning the basics of a tire's anatomy, the features and benefits of those features, and how they affect the performance of the tire, and the ability to read all of the different markings on the sidewall will allow you the ability to just sort of visually inspect the tire for the most part and determine if it's the right tire for you or not. Fortunately though, because all of our tires are online on our website at TrailBuilt, we have already done all of the homework for you and have all of the specifications and classifications listed under each individual tire to make the tire purchasing process a whole heck of a lot easier for you. However, regardless if you're physically looking at the tire in person or pictures and specs online, today we're going to break down the different features of a tire and things to look for when buying your next set of tires. And guys, there is literally all different sorts of kinds of tires. I mean, we're talking about asymmetrical, symmetrical tires. We're talking about directional. There's highway tires, there's all-terrain, there's rugged terrain, there's mud terrain, there's snow tires. So there is a lot of different tires out there. But one of the basic things we're going to do with you guys today is we're actually going to just dissect the tread pattern, show you guys what tread grooves are, show you what shoulder blocks are, show you what tread depth means exactly, siping, and we're just going to look at the tires and we're going to show you all these things, and then from there you'll be able to determine what tread design and what type of tire is going to work best for you. So let's go ahead, let's check out these tires. Now you're looking for tires. The first thing you want to figure out before you even start looking is what is most important to you. Is it going to be road traction because, well, most of your time is spent driving on the road? Or is it going to be a good blend of off-road traction and on-road traction? Or is it going to be more aggressive of a tread for more off-roading traction? And that's really where you want to start off. So in front of us, we have a BFG Trailtrain, which is an all-terrain. We have the Kenda Cleaver RT, which is a hybrid mix, which is just a mix between an all-terrain and mud terrain. So this is a Kenda Cleaver RT. And then over here, we have a BFG KM3 mud terrain, obviously the most aggressive of them all. So when we're looking at tires, we're looking at, let's say we want something for the road. We want something a little quieter. We're more interested in that road comfort. We want a long-lasting tread. It's a daily driver. Sometimes we hit the trails, occasionally on the weekends, but really not that often. That's where an all-terrain really comes into play. Just simply looking at the tread, you can tell that the tread blocks are more closely grouped together. What that's going to do is that's going to allow an even distribution of these tread blocks over the pavement or road surface, and that really reduces the noise coming out of the tire. If you're looking at the RT, you can clearly see there's more space in between these tread blocks. Well, what happens is because there's more space, these tread blocks typically end up sort of like slapping the pavement on every rotation, because it's not always one continuous tread contact hitting the pavement. So you're going to get more road noise out of something that is more aggressive. In the KM3, same thing. Even though for an aggressive mud terrain, this KM3 isn't really actually that loud out on the road. So it's pretty interesting, because what they've done is they've created these angles throughout the tread that helps the tread blocks continuously contact the pavement, and what that does is reduces the road noise. More typically, what you're going to have with an all-terrain type of tread is a longer lasting tread wear warranty. For example, the BFG Trailtrain does have a 60,000 mileage factory defect warranty, or 6 years, which is pretty incredible. Now they do that because it's an all-terrain and they know this type of tire is going to be driving on the road more often, so they want to give you as much life as possible. Now that warranty does protect you against defects in the tread, premature wear that could be something with the compound. So having a 60,000 mile warranty means that they trust that this tire is going to last you those miles, which is pretty cool. Another thing too is with the compound, being that this particular tire is 3 PMF rated, which is basically the 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake rated. It just means that it passed certain braking, acceleration, cornering test in severe winter driving conditions. So it is going to have that little extra traction to give you that confidence in driving in winter conditions or on ice. Very important for us up here in Wisconsin and Canada, everything pretty much above that salt belt line. So they do that with a combination of the tread compound. So there's a blend or a mixture of rubber, silica, and a bunch of other stuff that's mixed in here that gives it that cohesion to the road, or that cohesion to the road. And this tread, this composition, doesn't get brittle until it gets really, really, really cold. But these tires, being a 3 PMSF rating, will be more cohesive even under that 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees freezing in Fahrenheit. So it's a great tire for all around driving, all year round driving. And even for you that aren't in that winter driving situation, even if it's a rainy sort of area or territory, climate, whatever it may be, these also work really well in that, because you're going to get a little extra adhesion with this type of compound. Now it is M+S rated as well, which means mud plus snow. So it does have the mud plus snow, M+S, and the 3 PMSF rating as well on top of that. So really great tire for pretty much any type of situation when you're going to be doing most of your driving on the road. And it's pretty obvious. Obviously these tread blocks, like I said earlier, are compacted more closely together, reducing that road noise. But then you can see right on here, you can see that it has what's called a variable pitch contact patch. The contact patch is basically just the area of the tire that's going to be contacting the road or trail. So when you look at the design and the placement of these tread blocks, you can see that there's several different angles that they line up in going across the tire, and not directly straight across the tire. Obviously, they're going in an angle and several different angles. And the reason they do that is because, like I mentioned earlier, not every tread block is going to be contacting the ground at the same time. They're almost going to be following in sort of a sequential sequence, touching the ground, so it's not creating that sort of slapping sound, which is a term used in the tire industry called a continuous contact patch. Even though these tread blocks are separated by what's called valley grooves or tread grooves in between, which help for evacuating water to prevent aquaplaning or hydroplaning, also to evacuate snow, sand, mud, dirt, whatever it may be, plus helps give the tread blocks a little extra additional grip on any type of off-road obstacle, being it rocks or logs or whatever it may be, because it increases the contact pressure of each individual tread block. Instead of there being less tread voids or less tread grooves in between the tread blocks, it spreads out that contact pressure a lot more over the contact patch, whereas where there's more tread grooves in between the tread blocks, it actually increases that contact pressure of each individual tread block. So with that said, there's also a lot of siping on typically most all-terrains. Most all-terrains either are M+S rated, especially in our demographic where we know we're going to be doing a lot of off-roading, or at least a little bit of off-roading, plus all in different climates across the United States and other surrounding areas. So the sipes, what these do, now there's a couple of different things that sipes do. And you'll see several different designs of siping as well, depending on the manufacturer, depending on what the tire is classified for. If it's an RT or hybrid tire, or if it's a mud terrain, you'll see different types of siping. But on most all terrains, what you're gonna see is either a zigzag shaped sipe, a straight across sipe, or even one that has multi-dimensions to it. Like on this trail terrain, for example, this one is a 3D siping type of situation. So what that means is as the sipe goes deeper into the tread block, it actually has different ridges inside of it. Sort of like, I like to explain it like if you're standing in a valley and you look up and the valley walls have all different kinds of layers in it that are sort of interconnecting. Well, that's what a 3D sipe is, and why they do that is for tread block rigidity. So instead of having these sipes, which by the way, on these trail terrains, these sipes, especially in this center tread, do go all the way down to the base layer of the tread block. So you're getting a full depth sipe, and what that does is allows more water evacuation, more grip into the tread block. But going back to the 3D siping, what that does, especially in like these shoulder blocks, is it helps keep that tread block or shoulder block more stiff during evasive maneuvers, cornering, hard acceleration, hard braking. What you don't want to happen is have sipes that are all the way across all of the tread blocks, that are all the way down to the base layer, because then typically what happens is these tread blocks will start to move around and shift around on you when you're accelerating or hard braking or cornering. And you want a tire that doesn't shift around on you, especially if you have to make an emergency evasive maneuver. You want them to stay in place so it maintains traction on the road. And that's where an all-terrain will also benefit you just a little bit more as well, because they are designed more for being on the road. So from the center tread going outwards into the shoulder blocks are actually closed off. Now what that does, you'll see, like on this RT, you'll see open shoulder blocks here with these huge tread grooves in between the shoulder blocks. Well, when they're closed off like this, the shoulder blocks actually help with road noise, help reduce road noise, and help with cornering as well. So to maintain on-road traction, BFG went with these closed shoulder blocks here. And believe it or not, when you're talking about water evacuation through the tread grooves, that's what these all are designed for mainly, is getting rid of that water, especially in torrential downpour situations or even snow. You want to get that stuff out of there so that way the tire isn't floating on top of the water. You want these tread blocks to maintain traction on the pavement and not float up above it, because once your tire's not contacting the road anymore, you're not going to have any traction and you could lose control and it turns into a bad situation real fast. So anyways, what BFG has done is they've taken this fully into consideration with these closed shoulder blocks, and they've allowed they have these grooves here, they have the siping in between the grooves, and these tread grooves in the center tread also lead up to the evacuation part of these grooves going down in the shoulder blocks. So unless you have a really light vehicle in really deep water and you're going way too fast, the tire is going to maintain traction on that pavement. Now, of course, in every situation, whether it's a mud terrain, a RT or hybrid tire, or all terrain, if you're going too fast for any type of situation, more than that tire can keep up for, it's just going to be a bad situation anyway. Doesn't mean it's the tire's fault or the design of the tire. You just got to know when to slow down. Pretty simple. And when we're looking at these evacuation grooves here, these tread grooves in between all the tread blocks, you can see that they are channeled to not only evacuate out the side of the tire, but tires also evacuate the water or push the water out of the way in front of the tire and out, and also behind the tire. So it's not just a single dimensional water evacuation program here with these designs. It's actually designed to, like I said, push that water forward, push it out to the sides, and push it behind it as well. So then traditionally you will see more designs with closed shoulder blocks on race car tires and things like that, or maybe even directional tires. But when we're looking at the perfect blend with a tread design of on-road comfort, quietness, traction, performance during acceleration, braking, cornering, you really do want as much contact with these shoulder blocks as possible to give you the best possibility and the best chances of being able to maintain contact at all times, regardless of what you're doing with your vehicle. So all of that was kept in the mind here, but that gives you kind of an idea when you're looking for tires and you're looking at all-terrain tires. That's one more thing that you can put into your repertoire to look for if that's something that interests you in tires? Is it road comfort? Is it quietness? Is it traction? Is it the Three Peak Mountain snowflake rating for severe winter driving conditions? Is it a lot of siping so you get that additional traction in, you know, deeper water or snow and then ice? Or is it a tread design that has closely grouped together tread blocks to help reduce road noise? So a lot of different variables there. The other thing that ties into tread designs and contact patch is to look at things like tread depth. Now, this particular BFG has a 15-30 seconds tread depth, which is pretty reasonable. When we're looking at the RT, the Kenda Cleaver RT, this is going to have a 19-30 seconds tread depth. And obviously, being a more aggressive design with the RT, you're going to want more tread depth. More tread depth, larger valley grooves, well, more possibility of evacuating snow, sand, dirt, mud, whatever it may be, water, to get that stuff out of there. So it's important to have those larger tread voids or tread grooves in between the tread blocks and a deeper tread depth to help evacuate and clear out all of that, you know, sticky mud, snow, sand, whatever it may be in those types of situations. And again, going back to the all-terrains, typically they're not going to have as deep of a tread depth, only because they are more designed for on-road traction and not so much going through the mud. Even though they're mud rated, if you're gonna do more off-roading and there's a lot more mud in your areas, well, obviously a more aggressive tread pattern is gonna be the way to go there, especially if a lot of your driving with your vehicle is done off-road. And obviously going over to the BFG KM3 mud terrain, these are designed to excel in mud situations, rocks, all of those different types of terrains, but it doesn't have as deep as a tread depth as the RT, being that this one's 19 tread depth, 19-30 seconds. The KM3 is only 18.1 30 seconds, so I found that kind of interesting. However, obviously the KM3 has a lot larger tread voids or tread grooves in between the tread blocks to really help evacuate that thick mud or snow or sand or whatever it is, get that out of there a lot faster because it has just a better channel to evacuate from. So get these KM3 spinning and it is going to be flinging mud everywhere. So then along with the tread depth, another thing that you can look for too is, well, this doesn't necessarily have to do with as much of picking out your next tire that you want to purchase, but more of something to watch out for as that tire begins to wear down is your tread bars or your wear bars. So in between these individual tread blocks, you'll see a lot of times what looks like a little bridge, so to speak, or there might be a little knob down at the base of the tread. Those are going to be what's called your wear bars. And what that means is these are set at 2:30 seconds. So when your tread meets those wear bars, that's when it's time to replace the tire. So something to keep an eye out for. The other thing that's also seen on many different tires in between the tread blocks down at the base of the tread and in the valley grooves are what's called stone ejectors. Now stone ejectors can be ridges, they can be ribs, but typically there's some kind of ribbed or raised sort of rubber in between those valley grooves or in between the tread blocks in the valley grooves that are going to prevent stones from sticking in between the tread blocks. Now with a all-terrain, because your tread blocks are grouped more closely together, the chances of stones getting stuck in here are a lot less, or the stones are smaller that are going to get stuck in between the tread blocks. But when you move over to something like this RT or even the KM3, well, you're going to have some pretty massive stones that can potentially get stuck in between the tread blocks. And what happens then is as your tire rotates, for example, you're going down a gravel road, you move on to pavement, you get up to whatever speed it may be, and those little stones that are stuck in here, sometimes big stones, they're gonna kick out and they're gonna cause damage to your vehicle potentially, and you don't want that. So a lot of tire companies will place these ridges in between the tread blocks that help prevent stones from getting stuck in between there. And of course, it's not gonna be 100% thing that your stones are not gonna get stuck in between the tread blocks just because of the stone ejectors, but it'll definitely help reduce the number of stones getting stuck in here. Same with the KM3 here. You can see clearly that there's a bunch of different raised rubber here in between the tread blocks that help prevent those stones from getting stuck in there. All right, so then we covered what these different tread designs will mean to you. If it's an all-terrain, if it's a rugged terrain or hybrid terrain type of tread pattern, or if it's an aggressive mud terrain. So what else can we look at that may be an advantage or disadvantage to the different types of tread patterns? Well, one of them, and a really big one right now that's really important, what's going on in the world, the economy, is really high fuel pricing. The more rolling resistance there is with a tire or with a certain type of aggressive tread pattern, well, the less fuel mileage you're going to get because your engine is just going to have to work that much harder. So what if we want a tire that's really good for fuel economy? Well, that all depends. Are we still using our vehicle on the road or off the road, or a combination of each, or mostly off the road? If it is an on the road mostly type of situation, well then looking at an all-terrain that has mostly closely grouped together tread blocks and kind of a tighter tread block pattern will decrease that rolling resistance and actually increase your vehicle's fuel economy. So then we'd be looking into that more of all-terrain type of category. There is also the highway tire category, which is going to give you the best economical fuel economy, but you're going to suffer in off-road traction. It's not going to have as many attributes to the tire to give you more traction while off-roading. So an all-terrain with closely grouped together center tread blocks, shoulder blocks is going to give you the best chance at getting better fuel economy. And an RT or a hybrid type of tire, although they are designed for on-road and off-road performance, because you are going to have more aggressive lugs in most circumstances, or more aggressive tread blocks, you're going to get that more rolling resistance. It's just you're going to have more space in between these tread blocks. You're going to have more contact pressure on each individual tread block, and all of that combined is just going to reduce that fuel economy because you're going to have more rolling resistance. The other thing with this is the weight of the tire. Typically, when you're starting to get into a hybrid tire, you're going to get into what's called a light truck category. Now, light truck means that your tire is going to be designed more for heavier loads. To be able to carry those heavier loads, you're going to have a thicker carcass. The thicker carcass can be rated in plies. Doesn't mean it's how many plies they have, but that's how they rate them. Like this particular one here, this Kenda Cleaver RT is an F load rating, which is a 12-ply rating, even though it only has 3 plies in the sidewall. So the carcass is made out of 3 individual plies made up of nylon and different strings and metal that goes into the bead itself of the tire to help strengthen it up and keep it from coming apart of you. But anyways, I'm not going to get too much into the construction of the tires today, just a little bit. But when you start getting into LTs, you start getting into heavier load ratings, F load or 10-ply or 12-ply or even 14-ply. So being that this is a 12-ply rated F load, it's going to be good up to about 3,800 pounds or so rating, or 3,900 pounds of weight on each individual tire. Obviously, you times that by 4 and you're going to have about, I don't know, just shy of 16,000 pound rating on all 4 tires. So with that said, it's going to be heavier. So just think of all this weight with the wheel and the tire combined. There's going to be a lot more what's called rolling mass. It's just going to take your engine, your drivetrain, it's just going to take more effort to move more weight. With that said, your engine's going to be working harder. It's going to consume more fuel. So then if it is a more aggressive rated LT tire, whether it's an all-terrain, rugged terrain, mud terrain, if it's a more aggressive tread pattern, it's going to be more weight, and it's going to increase the rolling resistance. It's not going to go as smoothly down the road as like an all-terrain or a closely grouped together type of all-terrain tire. So obviously going to consume more fuel. But not only that, it is also going to add more stress onto your drivetrain, especially in situations where you're off-roading and you have to use the skinny pedal to try to get out of a certain situation. The more weight your tires are, the harder it's going to be on that drivetrain, the more chances that something is going to break. So always keep that in mind when you're packaging together your wheel and tires, is you want to try to, and I'm going to say this carefully because if you're doing a lot of rock crawling, the weight isn't as big of a deal, just because you want that extra traction from the weight to grip, that pressure per square inch per tread block, you want that to grip on the rocks. But in most circumstances, to keep it easier on your drivetrain, you want a lighter wheel with a heavier tire to sort of help make up for that. And in our market, we're looking at 17-inch wheels typically on the average, but it can be anywhere from 15-inch wheels up to 18-inch wheels. Well, the smaller the wheel size is, the more rubber there's going to be with the same diameter of tire. So put that simply, if I have a 35-inch overall diameter tire and I have a 15-inch wheel, well, there's going to be a lot more rubber in that sidewall than there is going to be with, let's say, a 35-inch overall diameter tire and an 18-inch wheel. So you're going to have more weight there, more stress on the drivetrain components, axle shafts, transmission output, shafts, U-joints, I mean, you name it, the whole works. It's just going to put more stress over everything. So something to keep in mind, not only fuel economy, but stress on all of your drivetrain components as well. Not to mention, it obviously increases almost exponentially when we start getting up to something like a 39-inch tire, 40-inch tire, 44-inch tires, things like that. Which, stay tuned to our next video too, guys, because we are going to be doing a comparison on a 40-inch Mickey Thompson Baja Boss mud terrain, and we're going to compare it to the 39-inch BFG KM3 mud terrain, and we're going to show you guys the differences and show you guys which one might be better. So hit that subscribe button, make sure to stay tuned for that. So then, getting back to our tires and what to look for the next time you want to go purchase tires, we've covered the different tread patterns, we covered why the valley grooves are here, the evacuation grooves, we've covered siping, we've covered different ratings like mud plus snow, the Three Peak Mountain Snowflake rating, we've covered some things about the compound, we've covered mileage warranties, and we covered like the variable pitch with different tread block placements to help keep the tires quieter when you're rolling down the road. And one more thing to point out with the different tread patterns and how they're laid out on the tire is, more noticeably than not, on a lot of the different all-terrains, hybrid terrains, and even mud terrain tires nowadays compared to years past, you're going to see sort of an separation between the center tread pattern and the outer shoulder lugs or shoulder tread pattern. So, and what this is going to do is, it's because your tire mainly rides on the center of the tire, on the center of the contact patch, that's where you want your most continuous tread contact to the road or trail to be, to help reduce road noise and help with increasing traction in cornering, braking, and accelerating. So you'll see a lot of times, you'll see more aggressive shoulder lugs, and even on all terrains too nowadays. Not so much this particular trail terrain here, because this one's designed more for road use than off-road use, but on a lot of RTs, on a lot of more aggressive all-terrains, you're going to see that. You're going to see that open shoulder lug, open valley tread grooves in between the shoulder lugs here, and it's going to be more aggressive on the shoulder lugs, and then you're going to have a sort of more tightly grouped together center tread pattern. And a really good example is just off the top of my head, like the Goodyear Wrangler Duratrack, for example. You can clearly see that the outer shoulder lugs are more aggressive and there's a more tightly packed together center tread on those. And that's pretty indicative with almost every single rugged terrain or hybrid terrain tread pattern out there. And that's how they get that blend of all terrain with the closely grouped together center tread patterns and the mud terrains with the more open, aggressive shoulder lugs. So that's something to keep an eye out there for too, if you're looking for a tire that you want to be really good on the road and also really good off-road, regardless of how often you drive your vehicle on the road or off the road. If you want that blend of performance, then look for a tire that has a more closely grouped together center tread pattern and more aggressive and open shoulder lugs, especially if they're angled and scalloped. Now, scallop just means that if you're looking, and every single one of these tires in front of us today are scalloped shoulder lugs. So what this means is that you're going to have a cutout on one shoulder lug, and then it's going to be fully developed, I should say, on the next shoulder lug, and then cut out sort of like a scooping style. So every time this fully developed shoulder lug makes a rotation in the mud or the dirt, or even while you're aired down, it's gonna be grabbing on this biting edge here. So what that does is it helps allow the shoulder treads to scoop out that mud, to scoop out that snow. Or if you're in a deep rut, it's gonna help with additional traction on the sides of that rut. So a lot of purpose there on all three of these tires. And even in all-terrain, you're starting to see more scalloped shoulder lugs here. And then speaking of shoulder lugs, going down into the sidewall, and obviously with our sport, we're doing a lot of airing down. Almost every time we hit the trails, we air down, increase our contact patch, or increase the footprint of the tire for that additional traction, and to allow the tire to envelope over rocks and obstacles and things like that. Gives it a little bit more pliability. So we're gonna see on a lot of tires, almost every tires nowadays, is the tread pattern sort of follow through over the shoulder lugs and into the sidewalls, or onto the sidewalls. And a lot of times we're gonna see, like the trail terrain here isn't as aggressive, obviously, but you start getting into the hybrid type of terrains, rugged terrains and mud terrains, you're gonna see a more aggressive sidewall tread. And that's excellent for more traction. When that footprint is increased, that contact patch is increased, you're aired down, you're gonna get a lot of traction out of the sidewalls. Not only traction, but it does also help offer or provide additional protection against trail debris that might cut the sidewall or puncture the sidewall. So it's going to help keep that stuff from getting into the sidewall of the tire as well. And then not only that, but it will also increase the strength, the overall strength of the tire. And one thing with that is when you do see these more aggressive types of sidewalls, it is going to add weight, so keep that in mind as well. And keep in mind, guys, that every single one of the specs that we went through with you guys today, whether it's these tires or any individual tire that we sell on our website at TrailBuilt, that we do have all of those individual specs listed under each individual tire. So you go to our website, TrailBuilt Off-Road, you find what tire you're looking for exactly. You can search by vehicle, you can search by the tire brand itself, you can search by wheels, and then add tires to the wheel packages. So a couple different ways to search there, but once you do find that tire, that tread pattern, that perfect tire for your individual circumstances and situations, you can look at the different specs. You can look at the tread depths, you can look at the weight of the tire, you can look at the warranty. So all of those different things are listed right on there. So try to make it as easy as possible for you guys. However, if you do have any questions whatsoever, you guys can always let us know in the comments below, or we'll have our customer service information listed right on the homepage on TrailBuilt. Plus, we'll have that link posted in the description that brings you right to our website as well. So then with all of that said, guys, just to recap real quick to make this super simple, if you're spending most of your time on the road, and all-terrain is a great way to go. If you're in drier climates, obviously you don't need the mud plus snow rating, you don't need the 3 PMSF rating, but if you're in snow or climates where there's a lot of rain, then it always helps to have that M+S rating plus the 3 PMSF rating as well. So quieter, more on-road comfort with all-terrains, typically longer lasting tread wear warranty with all-terrains, and a really good blend of off-road traction, but the traction is designed mostly for on-road. Whereas hybrids, you're looking at 50-50 probably. If you're spending 50% of your time off the road, 50% of your time on the road, of course there's some variations there, but it's going to give you the best off-road traction with on-road performance as possible in a hybrid type of terrain. Keep in mind they're going to be heavier. Most hybrids are LT rated, so they're going to have a thicker sidewall, which is great for puncture resistance, cut resistance, but it will add additional weight and it will reduce your fuel economy as well. So that's going to be with the LT ratings. Now, real quick, with that said, if it is a passenger rated tire, typically your sidewalls are only going to be about 2 plies of thickness, so they're not going to be as thick or as puncture resistant. So just keep that in mind, something real quick. And then of course, mud terrains are also going to have your thicker sidewalls. They're going to be heavier. They're going to reduce the amount of friction, so you're going to get worse fuel economy. Not so good in snow or on ice for the mud terrain, so keep that in mind. And mud terrains also use a bit of a softer compound, so they're going to wear out faster on the road if that's where you're doing most of your driving. So I'd say if you're doing, if you really want that good all-around off-road traction, on-road performance, the hybrid terrains, the rugged terrains are going to be the best way to go there. So again, let us know if you guys have any questions on any of these tires. If I forgot anything, well, let us know in the comments below. But besides that, guys, as always, we appreciate all of you for watching and all of your support. I'm Josh from TrailBuilt, and we'll see you guys out in the trails.